The federal government has set up a 9-member diving governing board to implement the 2018 Diving at Work regulations, even as Mr Julius Ugwala has been appointed Chief Inspector of Diving for the country. This development comes nearly 2 years after the Federal Executive Council approved the Diving at Work regulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Inaugurating the board on Friday at the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, the Honourable Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Festus Keyamo, SAN, said the board would drive programs that would grow the sector.
With the factory's diving at work regulations now in place, the stage is now set to move diving operations and certification processes to the next level. The putting in place of these regulations also constitutes a critical component of a sound promotional framework for occupational safety and health, thereby providing a strategic approach to the development of a national preventative safety and health culture. To this inauguration of the Diving Governing Board, we give impetus to the emergence of the much-needed specific and detailed guidance for the safe use, installation, maintenance, and examination of diving programs and operations within our territorial waters, dams, and other water bodies. The Diving Governing Board shall guide the implementation of intervention and inspection programs to reduce injuries, illnesses, and fatalities, and to eliminate occupational hazards associated with use of diving equipment. Pursuant to Regulation 45 of the Diving at Work regulations, the Diving Governing Board shall have responsibility to make decisions on issues affecting the diving industry and draft approved code practice to guide on training and operational issues relating to diving.
The board, amongst its other functions, would furnish the sector with a code of practice that meets global standards. The minister expressed confidence in the capacity of the board to better the sector through the strict enforcement of the regulations and monitoring of industry operations, given the expertise of the members. Delivering a welcome address earlier, Dr. Yerima Tafa, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Labour and Employment, who doubles as the chairman of the board, described the enforcement role of the board as paramount and called for strict compliance with safety and health guidelines for increase in productivity and national development.
As we all know, this board is an important body that is meant to supervise and monitor activities in the diving industry and ensure compliance with prescribed safety measures for the prevention of occupational accidents, usually associated with commercial diving operations. One of the known factors for the sustainable growth and development of any nation is a healthy, safe, strong, and productive workforce. Therefore, you will no doubt agree with me that the safety and health of all commercial divers, being workers themselves, in either formal or informal organization, is paramount, and its achievement requires the concerted efforts of all of us. It is worthy of note, ladies and gentlemen, that in order to maintain healthy diving industry, government has, through the Factory Diving at Work regulations of 2018, provided the required occupational safety and health guidelines and protocols to employers and workers in both formal and informal diving industries. Therefore, the strict compliance with these safety and health guidelines will go a long way in enhancing safety of diving actors and improving effective diving operations, which will in turn increase productivity towards our national development. Let me at this juncture congratulate all the nominated members of the Diving Governing Board. You have been carefully nominated to represent your respective organizations on the Diving Governing Board. It is our belief that this assignment will be carried out diligently and with all sense of commitment and honesty.
Mr. Julius Ugwala, the newly appointed Chief Inspector of Diving, congratulated the diving industry on the landmark development and thanked the federal government for its commitment to making the industry efficient and globally competitive.
The inauguration of the Diving Governing Advisory Board today signals a new start for the diving industry. Stakeholders should recognize the supremacy of the diving regulation, as they all will have to conduct their activities within the ambit of the law. As the Chief Diving Inspector, I am committed to global best practice, safe operation, equity, and to the development of the sector in line with the provision of the regulation.
The president of the National Association of Professional Divers, Mr. Timothy Minima, says the industry finally has a chance at growing and being globally competitive.
It's a thing of a joy to me in particular as a president in my time, and to Nigerians at large, and to the association at large, because it will boost local content enhancement in all ramifications. One, I think people find it difficult to even believe we have Nigerians that undertake diving as a profession, as a means of livelihood. When your people don't believe in what you do, then setbacks start setting in. So, but when they believe on what you do as a profession, then you see everybody wants to encourage you. Looking at the board, it surely generated funds for the government in return, and also a boost to Nigerians in general.
More reactions have followed the inauguration of the board.
It's a welcome development from every angle, because if you look at NIMASA's regulatory authority with respect to the maritime domain and all the related interfaces. So diving has actually been one of the areas that we were not very happy with, because it wasn't regulated. And in 2018, the agency NIMASA did present a paper to the Minister, the Honourable Minister of Transport, that we needed to start regulating of diving schools and diving activities in Nigeria, to which the Minister actually acceded to. And we had gone ahead to develop a checklist, and this certificate to be issued after clearing such organizations to meet international standards. And we had to take a break when the Ministry of Labour, Federal Ministry of Labour, wrote to us about establishing this board, to which they actually thought NIMASA had a very important role to play. So it's really, really welcome, because then we are looking back at safe operations at the diving industries. Jobs will be conducted safely and with less fatality, or actually no fatality, because zero fatality is always what we aim at in maritime safety.
Diving medicine is a subset of operational medicine, and generally operational medicine and indeed diving medicine is empowered by regulation. And in the absence of regulation, we can't do so much that we should be doing. So the inauguration of this board is definitely give more muscle, to the work of diving medical practitioners. Apart from also raising awareness about this specialty among the medical community. So we expect that more doctors will express interest in this specialty. And with that, what the Minister said, is one way of actually creating more jobs.
From the angle of diving contractors, this particular regulation is very important, especially on safety. I know for sure that we had a lot of accidents in the past, no records, people had died, no records, because the system wasn't working. With the establishment of the board now, we'll have the guidelines, we'll have the codes of operations, we'll have the professionalism required, and the authority and power under the law to enforce certain regulations, the regulations itself, and other rules associated with diving. Up till now, a lot of the diving contractors work the way they want without following the regulations. I know that some of them can't even bother to look into auditing of the equipments, update of the equipments. There are certain regulations that require update and audit of equipment before you do any diving job. Some of them may want to botch it. Some even will go ahead to hire equipment temporarily just to pass an audit. Well, all that got to stop, because with this board now, professional people will now be looking into this. They will be the people that will check equipment of diving contractors, will also monitor and ensure that the divers themselves work up to the regulations, the rules and regulations stipulated for diving, especially on the safety aspect of things.
We started this process sometime in 2016, and we did a lot of research. I happened to pioneer the process. We are expecting a lot from the board. We are also going to work closely with the board as stakeholders, because the regulation is not just a paper or one of those regulations being enacted in the country. At the end of the day, there won't be enforcement.
For the current government to have paid attention, especially to a critical sector like diving, which is a service industry, predominantly service industry. And then since there have been no monitoring, there have been alleged discrimination, both in practices and in training. So in governing board like this in place, I think it will address that critical area of mistrust.
A massive achievement and a big plus for us as a country. Hitherto, our diving industry has, though we have so many divers, but we've been at the mercy of foreign regulations and so on and so forth. But right now, for us, not only having a regulation, but having this board in place to oversee the activities of diving in Nigeria, it's a massive achievement for us, and I think it's just a plus for the industry.
On immediate areas the board seeks to tackle, the Chief Inspector of Diving, Mr Julius Ugwala, says the board will be taking an inventory of all dive operations and divers in the country.
First, to take a complete and holistic inventory of the entire diving operation in Nigerian territorial water. We want to know what type of operation, diving-wise, that is going on in our country. Secondly, we want to ensure all personnel are registered in Nigeria before they can carry out a diving operation. This, in our own belief, will help us to ensure people do not just hurt on their own. They will not just pick cylinders or bottles, equipment, and start carrying out a diving job. By so doing, we believe we'll be able to save some accidents that have happened today, which we believe that are preventable. And that will also help us to have a database of who is practicing diving operation in Nigeria. For me, I think that is a very first step.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
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 Keep watching.
Watching.
Maritime TV.
Maritime TV.
Maritime TV.
Maritime TV.
Maritime TV.
Maritime TV.
Maritime TV.